The A to Z podcast. I'm Anthony Zanni. I'm here with Mark Henry. Mark, 12 years ago yesterday, you won the World Heavyweight Championship for the very first time. Can you reflect on that?
Well, it was a dark night. The whole point of me winning was based off like a whole career of not politicking to be the guy. It got to the point to where every time I lost, the crowd would say, "Bullshit. No, that ain't right." And then they ended up having to do the right thing.
I love that. I absolutely love
My
that.
career forced them to do the right thing.
Did Vince say anything to you before you went out for that match?
Well, I guess since you're the crowd turns on us every time you lose, I guess you're going over tonight.
I love it. I love it. Wise words. That's great. So I wanted to start basically from A to Z. We want to start from the beginning of your career. You were a two-time Olympian. And
well, it started with powerlifting.
Okay.
Like in high school, I had the heaviest squat, bench, and deadlift combination of all time. And in powerlifting, it's the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. So those three lifts, the total that I put up, it was 200 pounds heavier than
anybody else.
It's
incredible.
And I didn't use equipment. People had these squat suits, these super suits, and bench shirts, and all of that type of stuff. And I didn't wear them. And the guy said, I can't remember what his name is. That should be something I should find out. But he said, man, the kid lifts raw. Like, and the whole term raw lifting came from a description of how I lifted.
Wow.
And I took a lot of pride in the fact that I was able to squat 832 pounds, steal the world record for juniors.
That's incredible.
And, my bench was horrible. It's a bunch of people that could bench 500 pounds. But there wasn't many people that could deadlift, 800 pounds as a high schooler. So I was pretty blessed. And that was the springboard to the Olympic lifting when I met Jane and Terry Todd, who basically came to see who was filling me full of steroids.
Oh, God.
Like, because they're good people.
Yeah.
And they didn't want me to be mistreated. And when they heard that there was a kid squatting 800 and deadlifting 800, like 17 years old, they were like,
they didn't believe it.
Shit.
They didn't believe it.
That ain't it. And if it is, he a science project.
Right.
And so they came to a competition and basically was looking for me and ended up sitting next to my coach's wife.
Oh.
Like, what's the luck?
No, that's
And they was like, well, that's him right over there. And they asked her a bunch of questions, and they started talking about my mom and my family lineage and all of that stuff. And he was like, man, they just poor ground, just grassroots type of people.
Yeah.
And that's a good description of my family and where I come from. We got 5 guys in my family that won Super Bowls.
Wow.
And multiple Olympians. So I come from it genetically, but anybody that knows anything about sports is the competitive sickness has to be there.
Absolutely.
And the people in my family, the reason that they succeed in sports is not just because of the genetics, it's because of the competitive sickness. Like, I want to be Michael Strahan.
Right.
Like, that's my cousin. Like, I wanted to.
That's your actual cousin?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Like, I want to be great. The people in my family, the kids that's coming up right now, we got one right now that's the number 30 overall basketball player, just signed with Memphis, and is going to be playing basketball at Memphis, the number 3 combo guard in the country, McDonald's All-American. Like, it's not just about strength or just about football. It's about anything that you decide to touch.
It's a mindset.
Yeah, and you just go after it. But I wanted to be the strongest kid in the world, which led to me being the strongest man in the world, and got me a lot of notoriety and attention because, you know, like I used to compete in these celebrity slam dunk contests, and I love basketball. That was my first sport. And on the '92 Olympic team, we took a plane over to Barcelona, and Irvin Johnson, they showed the dunk contest on the plane, and somebody told Irvin Johnson that I was on the plane, and he had to come meet me.
Oh my God!
Not realizing that he was my favorite athlete in the world.
Wow.
And that's what God did for me. Like everything that ever happened is like one thing leads to the other, that leads to the other. And if I think about it long enough, it'll happen. You know, I should be thinking about the lottery, you know, get that lottery money. But I'm not jaded in stuff. I like experiences, but to be able to sit and talk to Irvin Johnson was worth everything in my, you know, competitive life, to be able to meet him.
That's incredible.
Because my first job I got because of him.
Right.
You know, they had the weapons that came out in 1980, Converse. And my mom said she wasn't going to buy those shoes that cost $75 that I wasn't going to wear to church.
So you had to get a job to buy them?
So I had to get a job, man. I started cutting boxes and cleaning floors at this like little corner convenience store, and started working at Bell's department store, buffing floors. I was the custodian with the mostest. I was getting it, man. Sorting out clothes hangers and big bins, big as this bar of clothes hangers, all different kinds. Like just menial job.
Yeah.
And you know, I told him that, and he started crying.
That's cool. That's really cool.
He was like I said, man, that's work ethic. Like, you know, you learn how to work for what you want. And you know, that's the way it was for me.
That's incredible. That's a great story. And you got to meet your hero, and turned out to
be
be a good
it
one.
was cool.
Yeah, it turned out to be a good one.
Because you know it don't always work out like that. No, they say don't meet your heroes. I've had that experience too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reggie Jackson is an asshole. Put that in quotation.
That's awesome. Oh my God. All right.
He's the worst.
So you win a gold medal.
No, I won the Pan Am golds. I won World Universities. I won nationals. I won the Olympic trials, you know, national championships, you name everything except the Olympics. I mean, that like the when you get to the point to where the Olympics comes around, and I fought competing against the people that took steroids my whole life. And it always seems like there would be a group of guys that nobody could find them to drug test them. And then the ones that, like, sometimes like a year or 2 years out, they would get caught intentionally so they can get suspended.
So then they can
get off of the drug testing list, and then they would take even more steroids.
Gotcha. And
then when they came out of it, they were stronger than they was before he got popped. And it was weightlifting was, I had a strong love for it, but then it soured.
Right.
And that's when I said, you know what, man, like I need to transition out of Olympic weightlifting.
Did you have
and I was bitter for a long time, but then this year I did a fundraiser for the U.S. Olympic team.
That's awesome.
Weightlifting team. We raised a couple $100,000.
That's incredible.
And I enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm on the board of the U.S. Weightlifting Foundation now, so I'm back in the fold.
He's back on.
But because I want them to have it better than I had it,
right?
And to have somebody, I felt like I was being the way that the people were against me. Like I didn't feel like they worked hard enough for me to keep me in the sport. Because I mean, say that I don't wrestle and I keep training for the Olympic Games. Eventually, I think I would have won. But it also was a chance that I could have got close and didn't win.
Right.
Because, you know, not because I didn't do something, but because the Olympic Committee didn't allow, you know, Thomas Ion and all of those people in the International Federation, they just now getting to the point where they're ousting all of those people. That's how long it's taken.
Yeah.
And I mean, they did movies about them, the level of the KGB was working with the drug testing people to make sure that they switched.
Gotcha.
Put the clean, here's the clean pee. Let's take the bad pee over here.
There's a lot of corruption in that.
So much corruption, man. Like it was I got so bitter. I was just like, man, I remember not even watching the Olympics in weightlifting until like 2004, 2008.
Yeah.
That's horrible. But I love the fact that I was able to have a springboard to wrestling from, you know, the Olympics and all the notoriety that I got everywhere in the world, that I walk out of a room or a plane or a car, like somebody look and go, hey, that's Mark Henry.
Absolutely.
Like, so
how did that happen? The transition to WWE at that point, was somebody reaching out to you to come into wrestling, or was that something that you thought?
No, that was just like whenever I did Jay Leno and Oprah and different things, and people ask you, what do you do? And I say, oh man, don't bother me on Mondays. Those are the days I watch wrestling, Monday and Saturday. And they was like, oh, you're a big wrestling fan. Yeah. And the WWE reached out to me. Awesome. And basically said, hey, would you be interested in coming and see how we do stuff? And I was like, hell yeah. Am I gonna get to meet the Undertaker? You know, like stuff like that. Like just a big ass kid, you know.
That's great. And that's great.
And I got to meet the Undertaker. I got to meet everybody. And like that was I don't know if I ever had more fun than the first day that I went to Stanford and they had a show in New Haven. And I mean, I took a car from New Haven from Titan Tower to New Haven and went and watched wrestling and got to meet Doink the Clown.
Oh, Doink, like, wow.
Like Doink, and I told him, like, you know you're my favorite, right? Like, I like everybody else, but when you do the camera slap, I used to love that, man. And great. Just a big wrestling fan. Like, you know, I shared that with people, and I still do it today. Like, you know, being on Busted Open, I get to talk wrestling every week to about 200,000 listeners.
It's incredible.
And, you know, to be the #1 show on Sirius XM is pretty fucking cool.
Absolutely.
You might have to put the little bleep on there.
No, we're good. We're good, man. So you get into WWE now. You were struggling to find your character at first, and that's why they ultimately put you with the Nation.
Because I didn't know how to wrestle.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just,
like my first match was, hey, go to the pay-per-view. Like, you know, I didn't get any favors.
Right.
It took me, you know, it takes about 3 years when you have people actively trying to train you. I had people actively not trying to train me because they hated the fact that I came into wrestling, made more money than they would even dream of making, and was the first wrestler to have a guaranteed contract. No wrestling history had that. It's not what you get, it's what you negotiate.
Sure.
And you're not talking to an idiot. So I knew what I wanted, and I was giving up a lot. So what are you gonna give me?
Right. Like,
this is an even thing, you know. Like I went to Cowboys camp in '95. I could have played football too.
Wow.
So they offered me. I just couldn't afford Lloyd's of London insurance. And I was like, man, I need guaranteed.
Yeah.
And Vince was willing to do it.
That's great. That's phenomenal. They swooped in, you got your contract there, you started. So it wasn't really until you got with the nation that you felt like you started learning.
Well, when I got banished to Canada is when I started learning, because I was quick to fight and fuss and want to kill people rather than, kind of, I'd say dummy down now as a term, but it really wasn't me dumbing down. It was me humbling myself and allowing somebody to joke and play. And
right.
I just never been real before. I never had nobody play jokes on me and, say stupid stuff. And like, it was always very, treat people like you want to be treated. I never had that. So I reacted negatively.
Gotcha.
And I was kind of an asshole about it too. But when I got banished to Calgary, which it was so great that Bret Hart took me in and said, "No,
I didn't know that.
Send him to me. Like I'll help. I'll get him right." And he had a training camp, and they had Leo Burke was the coach, like one of the best coaches in the history of wrestling. And so I got to work out with him, and Bret would come off the road. And he would come in and, talk to us. He would never get in there with us because he knew we would hurt him.
Yeah.
And I was there. That was Andrew Martin first day.
Wow.
Ken Shamrock first day. I was there up there with Jericho when he was training, and Rodney Blackbeard and Big George. Those were guys that trained with Brad News Brown, his students. And then Owen would come in when they got off, and so I got that was my indoctrination of wrestling, because they didn't teach me just how to wrestle.
Yeah,
they taught me how to coexist in the locker room, and I got to go and learn how to fight, because I would beat people up growing up. But that's because I was just big and strong. If I'd have fought somebody who knew how to fight, they'd have whooped my ass.
Right.
But then once I met Stu, and Stu was like, "Come here, you big bastard." And he just show you stuff, and it made, doing anything easy. It's like, man, like there's I just recently did a thing in the locker room at AEW. One of the guys was saying that once you get in the front face, it's over. And I was like, no, it's not. Like there's a reversal out of show me. And when I did it, Scorpio Sky was like, holy shit, like that was cool as hell. It's like Stu Hart taught me that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
A long ass time ago.
The dungeon is legendary.
So it's like there's a way to do things and learn. Like my experience is vast, because it goes over 35 years and 3 different sports. And I don't know if it's understated enough how valuable going to Calgary was. Because once I left Calgary and came to Ohio Valley Wrestling, and I was down there, man, like almost a year.
Who was your class down there with OVW? Did you have
I was there with Jimmy Cornette and Danny Davis. Rip Rogers were the principals. And then the guys that I was with was Nick Dinsmore, Rob Conway, Flash Flanagan, Trailer Park Trash, Jack Black, BJ Payne, some good, really good guys.
Yeah.
And then I was there when Randy Orton came. Wow. I was there when Batista came, when Cena came, when Brock and Shelton came, when you know, Robbie Dix, the guy that I thought was the best was Slick Robbie Dix. And man, he was cold-blooded, man. And he died tragically, but he would have been better than everybody.
Really?
Yes, that dude was incredible. And the best athlete by far I ever seen in wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And that's saying a lot because of Shelton Benjamin. Shelton's incredible athlete. But if you ask Shelton about, you know, athletics and what he thought about, you know, Robbie Dix, he'd tell you, yeah, that dude was crazy. He ran a 4.3 40, had a 44-inch vertical, was All-American wrestler at Fresno. Like he was just really, really good, man. Just, you know, just bad spot for him.
Yeah. That's it.
But I enjoyed my time in Ohio Valley, and that was when I realized, okay, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And Brian Pillman died, and I got invited to go to the Pillman show, and I wrestled Hugh Morris, Bill DeMott, and we killed it. And people were like, damn. Like, man, we were leapfrogging.
Oh, wow.
Arm dragging, drop kicking. We was acting up for big guys.
yeah.
You know, normally big guys are not allowed to do all that, but we was, hey, they said y'all can do whatever y'all want to. And we went out there and they called me back the next week after that match. And Bill DeMott was out of work because he was on the outs with WCW, and then WWE hired him because of that match.
Oh, wow.
That we had. So like, and that was it, man. I got back and, you know, got with the nation, and the rest was kind of history.
You were kind of saying that those are still, when we were talking in the car, those are still four of your good buddies. Yeah,
they're still my brothers, man. Like Ron was the ultimate teacher. D'Lo was like a brother to me. Like we clowned and bounced stuff off each other. Godfather was a BSK guy. So he was, you know, real close to Taker and Rakisha and all them guys. And, you know, they just gave you advice, whether you wanted it or not.
Yeah.
They told you the right thing to do. And then they would be like, well, you can do what you want to. And that's Godfather. Here's the advice, but you can do what you want to. And I always appreciated that because nobody was trying to help me.
Yeah.
You know, so like you look at everybody that was in the nation, it was just a high level of success. And Owen was in the nation, and we used to ride together, and it was just the funniest thing in the world. These two dudes from different planets, and just in the car, just clowning like children. So, like there was nobody, I don't think. The people that they kind of put in the nation just haphazardly, it didn't work for them because they wasn't like originals.
Right.
But nonetheless, they still had memorable moments.
Sure. Yeah,
but the core group, the you know the elite five, I guess, the ones that was in there the longest, Ron, Godfather, D'Lo, myself, and The Rock. You know, that was the nation. That's what people view the nation being.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how everybody still remembers it for the most part, I would think.
Yeah, there was some scragglers that got in there. Nation was probably about 15 people strong at one point. Just a bunch of wildness.
So when you think you first really got over, would it be the Hall of Pain?
No, me and Chris Benoit had some classics in 2007. That's kind of the light came on. Like I could work with anybody then. You know, 2006, 2007, it didn't matter who you put in the ring. It was going to be what it was supposed to be. The psychology was going to be sound, and nobody was going to get hurt. Like, you know, you wasn't working the guy that you know, the first 2 or 3 years of me wrestling, man, I was a night off.
Yeah.
Anybody will tell you, you know, the only person I think I ever hit, I hit the ass on purpose. Shit, like, don't be in there messing around, you're gonna get hurt. But that was a good time, 2007, 2008. I dislocated my shoulder on that run going towards me and Chris Benoit for the world title at WrestleMania, and it didn't happen because I had to have surgery.
That was going to be the plan. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Were you going over?
I have no clue. I never asked. That's one of the reasons, the beauty I was just telling you, I never politic to win. Like, I let my talent speak for itself, and they always put me in there with people that needed somebody to put their ass in jeopardy. And when you walked them the stairs to get in the ring with me, you was always at a deficit.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you enjoy working with bigger guys or smaller guys?
Smaller guys. Shit, bigger guys heavy. Trying to pick them up. Like, man, my favorite matches was like Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Like, we did so much stuff. I remember I accidentally tripped, taking a step backwards because he jumped so high that I had to do like baseball, like field. I had to field him. And I backed up and I caught him, but it made me go backwards. And rather than fall down, I don't like failure. I just kept my momentum and kicked my legs up and picked them up and stood. And now people do it all the time, but that had never been done in wrestling before.
Oh, that's really neat.
And there's something that, you know, I invented. And,
that's really neat.
You know, I've seen Bianca Belair do it to pay homage to me before. I've seen a bunch of guys do it now. It's just haphazard, but it's good when you see something done and you go, that's mine.
That's really neat. How do you like coaching? I know you've been a big proponent of
I like teaching more than coaching.
Yeah.
Because wrestling is a very complicated thing. People think that it's easy. You put stretchy clothes on and go out in the ring and jump up and down. That's not what it is. You know, wrestling is the Bible. You know, it's very simple, good versus evil. And you tell those stories and you try to make it to where it's entertaining for everybody.
Right.
Which is not always going to work because, you know, for the obvious reason. But you can, you know, I let everybody else teach them how to do it. Go learn how to do an arm drag and learn how to take all the bumps and learn how to run the ropes. And that stuff is like important, very important, but it's not what I don't get off on watching people, you know, reverse holds and learn how to do a continental spot to be able to really know what you're doing in the ring. That's not me. I teach psychology. I teach why you do it. I teach where you do it and when you do it. And fast versus slow, you know, big versus small, simple psychology.
Yeah.
But then I also teach how do you get people to feel? And when you start talking to people about, I don't feel you when you're wrestling. What do you mean you don't feel me? I was like, if you're in pain and you're grimacing, then I know that's called registering to me. You're registering something happened. I still don't feel it. But when you look at the camera or you look towards a kid in the crowd and you start reaching for them and you mumbling, help me. Now people go, oh my God. They start, they feel something. And that's what wrestling is. You have to be able to know all the tricks of the trade to make the people in the audience feel you. And then once that happens, you can go out there and take a shit in the ring and you'll still get over it. But it's very little simple things that you just have to know that those things are something that you need to do.
what would be the favorite moment in your career? Like something you had the most fun doing.
It wasn't in the ring.
I don't know if we can talk about that.
Nope. He ain't talking about it. I mean, wrestling wise, like the probably the funnest thing that ever happened was when Mae Young had the hand.
Oh God, yes.
Like,
yes.
I'm telling you, man, like I cried. I think I peed a little bit on myself. Because of Gerald Briscoe. Gerald Briscoe has a very weak stomach.
Really?
I mean, you could say, oh my God, I think I threw up in my mouth. You want to see it? And he would vomit.
Oh wow.
Bro, he got a weak stomach. And so Pat Patterson, got wrestling. So Pat Patterson said, oh, we're gonna get Gerald. We're gonna put I need some goo and some gel like stuff to put all over his hand and some corn and different things. Like they just went to catering and got nastiness and made this muck. And then they put that hand in it and it was in a plastic bag. So then Gerald standing next to me, it's gonna be okay, Mark. And then Pat pulled that hand out and he went, and then vomit. You got to watch the video again.
I gotta check it out.
It is the
oh my God,
man. I'm telling you, I couldn't. That was really me just standing there laughing because I wasn't doing shit I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be concerned. Man, I was laughing my ass off, and it was the best thing I ever had happened to me in wrestling.
Oh, that is a funny story.
Oh my God,
that's a really funny story. That's great. Was it cool working with Mae?
Oh my God, she was the best. She was the best. I mean, we did a Valentine's Day thing that was so unbelievably hilarious and funny that it would have rivaled anything that was on television. Wow. Not just wrestling. There was no sitcoms. It was Carol Burnett-esque.
Wow.
Like that shit was good. That was good TV. And Bruce Pritchard produced that. And like Bruce was on the floor laughing so hard that I thought he was gonna die. That's like when you go to work and you just on the floor laughing like that, man, that's a good day.
You know something's working.
It's working.
That's really neat. So you kind of brought along Bianca Belair. Is that right? Like you?
Yeah, I just saw her doing strong man, a strong woman, and she was also doing like CrossFit, and she was just bigger than that sport. Like, you know, when people walk in a room and people all go, oh my God, who is that? There's got to be somebody.
Right.
Those are the people that I go after. And I convinced them that they're tailor-made for wrestling. And
well, you were right.
She was one. Jade Cargill was one. Braun Strowman was one.
That's got to make you proud, though, when you've seen the success of these people.
Very proud. Apollo Crews, Rich Swann, Baron Corbin, Bryan Danielson.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Brian, I saw him on ROH and some show he did in Canada. And I lied because they wanted big guys. And I said, man, I saw this guy, man, he was like 6'1", like maybe 200 pounds. He was really good. And they were like, well, shit, bring him in. And I said, look, here he is. They got him there. And Johnny Laurinaitis, damn, Mark, what the hell? I was like, he looked bigger on TV. He looked bigger than me. He worked bigger.
Yeah.
I was like, just watch him work.
Yeah.
Just watch him. And he ended up really making it. And I was able to, you know, have some classics with him too.
Yeah.
And do the favor and you know, give, you know, him beat me for the title. So it just felt like everything came full circle. It was supposed to happen like that.
That's awesome.
But I mean, it's been countless others. I mean, I always felt like there was not enough representation of different African Americans in wrestling because people look at Black people as being one dimensional. You got to be the bad guy or whatever, or you got to be the guy dancing with the bird on your shoulder, and all of that. But I wanted more diversity, and I pushed for it. And there was WrestleMania down in Florida. There was I wasn't there, but I heard about it, after the fact. But there were about like 16 African American kids. They all went to eat together, and they started saying, "How did they get in the wrestling?" And about 10 of the 16 was like, "Yeah, Mark Henry reached out to me and pushed me to keep wrestling or try to do this or do that." And I took a lot of pride in that, and those people are flourishing today.
Yeah,
so I feel like I did my part. If I died tomorrow, like people would talk more about who I brought into wrestling than what I did. Watch.
That's incredible.
I'm just saying, I ain't ready to go or nothing. I'm far from being ready to go.
That's incredible, though, as to you had a successful career in the ring, but it's what you've done, and this is what we were talking about in the car. It's what you're doing outside of the ring that's really fulfilling to you.
Yeah.
That's
the
awesome.
Stuff outside.
Yeah, but without you, you're not going to have a lot of the people that you just named. There's no Yes Movement. Like we didn't have a line for a lot of things.
I ain't even think about it, but I know that probably the proudest I've been was Bianca and Sasha
headlining
WrestleMania and being in the main event. And at the same year, Jade Cargill was like 30-0 and had the TBS title, women's title, and one of the best female wrestlers in the world at the same time. Like, you start to feel like, damn, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you just want other people to see the vision.
Yeah.
And it's for the better part of it, people have.
Well, I think you've gained a lot of people's respect. So when you say something, they're probably going to listen. But it's taken
not years. Everybody, but I'll tell you what, man. Like I'm really loving what's going on with Hobbs and Wardlow. Like they listen, man. Like both of them are great, and they're getting better now. They're starting to feel it. I don't have to say nothing.
Right.
It's like Neo.
Yeah,
in the Matrix. Like once they start to believe, move out the way because you're gonna get hurt.
Yes.
Like them boys are good.
Yeah.
And they just listen to you and they say, well, they understand why now. Why am I supposed to do? And don't do that yet. Wait, save it. Like the psychology of it is starting to get to them. So, man, it's
going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to watch. These next 5 to 7 years are going to be crazy.
What is your current take on AEW and WWE? I'm assuming you obviously watch AEW.
I watch all of it. I have to.
So you're still a fan?
Yeah, not only am I a fan, but it's my job, to watch and critique. And I see the benefit of the competition between the two, because that competition breeds success for everybody.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, it forces the companies to pay the athletes more. If you want good talent, then you got to pay for it. So I feel like, that's a big plus. I think that AEW being a young company, they have missed the boat on some things, but they've had way more success than failure.
Sure.
I mean, way more. I mean, like Darby Allin is one of my favorite wrestlers in the world.
Darby's great.
Like, I mean, they doing the right thing with bringing Nick Wayne in and letting him develop over a period of time. Like the women's division is starting to, you know, really push again. They had a big push a year and a half ago, and now it's starting to bubble again because everybody's healthy, thank God. And just watching the development of the new shows, watching ROH come back to life.
Yeah.
And Collision now being added, and them shooting it like old school wrestling. I love the camera angles they use. I love the lighting. And I mean the smoke, you know, they put the haze in the air.
Yeah.
I used to, because you know, the haze used to be cigarette smoke. You never used to get smoke in buildings.
Right.
But now people don't even realize what they missing, what they seeing. You know, just like it's just a nostalgic look. And you have wrestlers that are more the seasoned guys. You know, you see the older guys wrestling at Collision. So yeah, I love that show. They're doing a good job, man. Like you always need more help.
For sure.
And you know, hopefully more help is coming.
Well, I know we spoke about this. Losing CM Punk, I think, is a huge thing that I hope that they're able to replace in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean, you might not ever replace a CM Punk, but you got to add other elements that make you not look at what's missing. You know, wag the dog. What are you looking at? You know, you got to, you know, integrate somebody else and build somebody else to where, you know, that spot is filled.
Sure. That's fair. On a whole, watching WWE, watching AEW, who are the people that you're excited about, the characters that you really can't wait to tune in to watch, or the feuds that are going on, or the storylines that are going on?
Bro, Long Island's finest, MJF.
Absolutely.
Man, that's some bitch.
Absolutely.
He just make you laugh. At the same time, you want to punch him in. He got the most punchable face I ever saw. Oh man, he knows he's doing his thing. You know, for Orange Cassidy is entertaining as hell to me and can wrestle any style.
He can. He's very unique. Very unique.
And there's people that hate on him. And these people that hate on him, I think that they tend to want wrestling to be what it was in the 90s.
Right.
Wrestling is not what it was in the 90s. The best guys in the ring are not 6'5" and 250 and 300 pounds no more. So you have to be able to kind of acquiesce to what those people are bringing to the table and just look at it differently, because it is different. I'm Gunther is somebody that always gets my attention. He's a throwback to, like we were saying, the old school wrestling, big guy, bad guy.
Yep.
His development is unmatched in pro wrestling. Lost like 60 pounds.
A ton of weight.
Which I didn't really need that. I didn't need him to be smaller. But he can work those long, you know, 30-minute matches now. He taught himself to speak English.
It's incredible. That's incredible.
And in just 3 years. If I had to speak German in 3 years, put it out your mind. It wouldn't happen.
No, you're right.
But he learned a whole different language in 3 years. And his facial expression and the fervor that he talks with, like, you can't teach that. He just had that in him.
Yeah.
He just needed to learn the language. And he did. Like, that dude is special. And there's Charlotte Flair. just great beyond like, you know, what we can sit here and talk about. It'll sound like I'm, you know, trying to date her or something.
Right.
If I start talking about how great she is. And then all like to see Bianca develop into the wrestler that she became. Becky Lynch is still one of the top characters in pro wrestling, not just female, but you know, male overall.
She took off with that character. It's been phenomenal to watch. It really has been.
Yeah, and I'm a big Kenny Omega fan.
How could you not be? Kenny's awesome.
The dude, he keep having these 30-minute, 40-minute classics with different people.
Yep.
That's when I judge. That's when you can tell somebody is good. When some people have good matches with just, you know, a certain style of guy.
Right.
But you tell me when you saw Kenny Omega have a bad match. Never. And for him to be 30 years in wrestling, Chris Jericho has done more for pro wrestling in his last 2 years, 3 years than he did his entire WWE and WCW runs. So Chris being the guy that he is, I mean, he's built guys. I'm not saying this as something demeaning.
Right.
And if it comes across that way, I'm sorry. But I did not know who Bandito was until he wrestled Chris Jericho. And I went to Bandito and said, hey, man, you are awesome. And he pointed at Chris. And you know how stuff, you come to the realization, like, oh, he speaks English a little. Chris is having matches with people that don't even speak English. How the hell you do that?
That's Jericho for you, man.
That dude, man, he has made so many people, all the people in the Jericho Appreciation Society. I should be naming people that's young that, you know, man, I can't wait to see what Will Hobbs is going to do.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You know, not because he's one of my, you know, prized pupils, but like anybody that'll implement, like the first time you tell them, hey, you might want to, you know, do this, or, you know, when you get ready to do this, do that, you know, like.
You'll take that advice and run.
Immediately that night, not your next match, down, I'm going to plug this in. I'm talking about right then they implement it.
That's awesome.
That's success.
That is. Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's big hope for both companies.
Two last quick things. Vince McMahon, any last words that you had with him prior to going to AEW, or like your last conversation with Vince?
That I was going to AEW.
And there was no.
And, you know, I wanted to work more on the executive side or in the support side. I'm not, labels don't matter to me. What I do supersedes a label. You know, you know, coach, producer, manager, executive, all of that shit don't matter to me. You know, it's going in and having an influence on the business.
Right.
And that's what I do. I mean, no pun intended, but when I walk in, like I start looking at what I feel like is, if there's something that's, you know, wobbly, then I go and tighten it up. And I'll go say, hey, we need to do this. If you don't do it, then that's, you know, that's not on me.
Yeah.
I let it be known. And I feel like I've had a positive influence on AEW. I've had positive influence on the whole world of wrestling.
You certainly have.
So, you know.
About your son, Jacob? Football? He's going to be a stud college athlete.
Yes, he is. But all he wants to, if he could go and wrestle now, he wouldn't go to college.
Really? He would go right to wrestling.
Love pro wrestling, man. And this is a dude that won state in wrestling. He's not just a professional wrestler, he's a good amateur wrestler.
Wow.
Got offers from Wisconsin and Oklahoma, like big Division I schools. And same thing for football, but like he's better than I was at that age.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could talk psychology with wrestling to Jacob like I could talk to the Undertaker.
That's incredible.
Because that's the way he's been taught. So when he does become a professional wrestler, I told him the pitfalls that he's going to run into, because people are going to be like, well, you never wrestled before. I don't want to listen to you. It's like, okay, you cannot listen to me or get beat up. I told him, I was like, you're going to have to whoop some people's ass.
Yeah. Because
wrestling, people there's a level of respect that you got to have. And a lot of that respect comes from the office. The office is what gives the teeth. But if your life is in danger when you go in that, when you walk between those ropes and you have somebody that's not wanting to do the best job for you, you have to make them. Yeah. And he's under that understanding. So when he does decide to do it, I feel sorry for the dude that don't try to do the right thing by him, because he's got the dog in him. And, I'm not telling him to be a bully.
Right.
We don't do that. Like Jacob sits with the handicapped kids at school so people don't pick on him. That's who he is.
He's a good kid.
So he's a good dude. It's them quiet ones that'll get you.
Yeah, watch out.
The ones that'll knock your teeth in. And he's just good, man. He's going to be educated. I told him, when you go into wrestling, you need a pretty package.
Right.
That's why he's going to college, is to have experience and create a legacy for himself that's outside of me and his mom. And I want him to have some college footage.
Yeah, for sure.
I want him to. He said that during the summers, he's going to go to Japan. And I already had 3 or 4 guys that are over there. He's going to go after his first year at summer in college, he's going to go to Japan with Darren Young.
Wow, start learning
how to work. So
what if his football career takes off in college?
That's what I told him. I said, man, what if you get drafted in the first, second round? And he was like, well, I'm going to play maybe 5 or 6 years. And then I'm going to retire early while I'm still young. So
I can wrestle.
That dude want to wrestle, man. So
that's great. Good for him. I look forward to watching his career.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Listen, thank you for everything. This is the A to Z podcast. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this for me.
A to Z, man. I'm with it.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.